Hello, and welcome to Guru Grit. My name is Monica, and I'm going to be answering your questions about your reality. So welcome to this wonderful learning space where we could ask and explore together. So today's question is one that really made me giggle. It gave me a good chuckle because I'd been thinking about recording this yesterday, and when I woke up this morning and logged into YouTube and saw the comments, it was one of the first ones that presented itself as a question. So if you ever doubt your own creative power, your manifestation ability, just know it can happen in the blinking of an eye. So if someone asked it before I even had a chance to film it, but we thought it at the same time. Wonderful. It says, Miss Nina wrote in, can you make a video on the coexistence of astrology and law of attraction? My spiritual awakening began learning what law of attraction is, then astrology, and when I learned more about astrology, I felt as though it blocked some of my manifestations because of my fear of certain transits and the thought of destiny. Amazing. So if you're unaware, I am an astrologer. So I began everything from that place when I was quite young, just before I was teenaged. I started out as a curiosity, and then it unfolded like any long-term relationship. It has its highs, it has its lows, but it's my longest love affair in this lifetime, one that I never tire of at all. The interesting thing is, through my own journey, I have found the first thing that you should learn when you're learning astrology, if you're learning it from someone worth their own weight in not even gold or salt, dust mites, the most basic thing is the notion of free will. Second to that is the purpose that it serves. What purpose does astrology have? Why has it been around for so long and all those things? We don't have to get super technical here, but this does lead us to an answer, which is this. Is it necessary? Is it necessary to know about astrology to live a perfect life? Of course not. Most people who are successful, happy, living well-rounded lives have never had a birth chart cast, ever. And when you speak to someone who's starting to learn about astrology and kind of getting into readings, usually they're younger, they're not very experienced, and their style is one of, look, this works, this is how I learned it, it has to be true. It has to be true. There's no one-size-fits-all formula. One planet in a house in a sign can have 10 different meanings to 10 different people. You have to take the entirety of existence and cram it into 12 houses and 12 signs. There's going to be a lot of variety. So, there's so many things that influence a person. Why one person with, Jupiter in the 10th can do well and the other one not so much. So this is a very fascinating question, especially the part where you said it blocks your manifestations. This is the thing. It's not about the tool. A tool is useless if you don't use it. So I wouldn't say it's the astrologer or astrology. It's the quality of the astrologer or the style and their work. This is the exact reason that I don't do predictive readings. I mean, I have no problem, like I can do them, but not all money is good money, in my opinion. Like, what's another $100 will not make me any richer or poorer in the long run, here and there. Like, who cares? The point of having Guru Grit is to teach self-empowerment. If I can use astrology as a tool to explain it in a visual and auditory way, that you have this type of power, you have this tendency, these are your tendencies. Everybody has tendencies, okay? You can use that to improve yourself in these ways, make your life easier in these ways. Then do that. And this person should do that, and that will work out really, really nicely for them. However, from time to time, it's not often, but it does happen, you will get people who have really rigid questions, and they think you hold the answer. I don't hold the answer. If you hold the question, you hold the answer. That's how it is. The intensity of your question is what gives me the ability or inability to answer it. But this is for everything. This is like tea leaves, you throw beans, you read beans, sticks, bones, runes, tarot, anything. A flop question gives a flop answer because you're not right in your own energy. So I dislike the idea that to predict something holds true for everyone. I'm also someone who's really freedom seeking. I've struggled and worked with this idea a lot when I was learning a lot more and more and more about astrology as time went on, looking for examples, looking for clues. And if you were to see my chart or someone like it, you would know that person will just make the most of whatever, they're going to do what they want. You know, you can see the intensity of free will or stubbornness in someone's chart. So really, if you were to read my chart, I would just take the best and leave the rest. I literally, anytime someone tells me something's not probable or not going to happen, in one ear, out the other, and I'm not kidding, I have no memory of it. I have zero recollection. I have to put in effort to remember what someone told me couldn't be done. I was in a really particularly trying time in my life over a year ago, and I got 5 readings from 5 Vedic astrologers. 4 of them said I would fail, and 1 said I would succeed. I literally don't even remember anything else they said. I forgot them. They've been blotted from my consciousness, and I just focus on the one that said I would be fine. And the funny thing is, it was around a specific date that I had to attend an event, and the event changed. So that means the reading would be null and void because the transit did not happen on that day. But in my head, I just decided it's a done deal. And guess what? I succeeded. So learn to think for yourself. Go to astrologers who teach you how to think for yourself. A lot of things are predetermined. Okay? I'm naturally brunette. I'm tall. I have dark brown eyes. I don't get a lot of mosquito bites, though yesterday in the woods when I was sitting on the log, something did get me and then took us. I tan easily. The rest of my family, very pale, mosquito bites all the time. Doesn't matter. I have my own individual vibration. I have my own individual birth chart, separate from theirs. I even have a different birthplace. So, I am an individual. So even if you take someone born the same day, same time as me, same year, same everything, we're going to have different paths depending on our use of our own willpower. So those things predetermined. What you do with those things is up to you. It's so easy. So why is it fascinating when you consider law of attraction and astrology? And it's interesting because in your question, you said you learned about law of attraction, then astrology. So it's a little bit backwards. It's not a problem. I'm just saying it's fascinating because you started off learning that you can have anything and everything. Then you got into astrology and someone went, huh? And you had to shrink yourself back down to fit into that box. It's interesting. I could sit here for an hour and it wouldn't be enough time of me telling you how many times I've said to someone, you should, you'll probably be married when you're 31. And they go, oh yeah, I was married. And I'm like, oh wow, you're already married? Like, no, I'm divorced. And I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, oh, I'm twice divorced. And I'm like, you were married twice? Because you don't know if someone's gonna have an impulse marriage. You don't know. Do you know how you would have to have a reading done every day of your life for every single transit? No one has that kind of mind power or willpower, and you could not pay someone enough money to sit there and tell you what's going to happen every single day of your life. To say on this day, July 16th, 2004, you woke up, you poured a little too much coffee, got hopped up, called your girlfriend, and went to Vegas and got married. It just flies in the face of everything to do with predictive art forms or sciences or something like that. So there's many, many examples, but they're not necessary to know. Here's all you need to know. It's what you do with what you have. That's the first thing. In my opinion, astrology is something that is divine, and it was downloaded from someplace higher than us. Higher, there's no hierarchy, but okay. And it was meant to empower you, not limit you. I could break out into hives. I could just start to retch when someone's like, oh, you're a Leo moon? You love attention. And I'm just like, what is that about? What are you talking about? You have to see the whole chart. And even then, what kind of attention? Like Mother Teresa got a lot of attention. She was, titled as a living saint or something. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. So you just have to understand where it comes from. Does it come from a place of ego? Does it come from a place of understanding? Is it somebody who wants to propel you into something more? We'll talk about this deeply in another video, but for now, I understand it's a very frustrating thing to have stop and go energy. So you started learning, oh, I can have anything, I can be anything, I can do anything, I can be anyone. There's nothing I cannot be or do or have. And then you opened a birth chart and you started researching and you got excited. And some well-meaning person probably was like, oh, but you will never have this, that, the other. And it made you feel really, really small. And that's just not true. I can give you umpteen examples from my own life that I've defied, okay, my birth chart or some such thing. So some things are predestined, like I mentioned, who your parents are, whatever they call you, whatever. But those things are just like formalities. You just need them to live in the world. It's neither here nor there. You can always change your name. You can change your hair color. Like, who cares? But the free will that you have, be it 10% or 40%, you can change your whole life. You can change the lives of the people around you. So why does this affect so many people? Consider this. If you're attracting everything all the time, and you are, whether you're aware of it or not, if something has existed for thousands of years, and for thousands of years we've been feeding our energy into it, it lingers as a dominant vibration. It's still changeable, it's malleable, but for now it lingers, it's there, it's very strong. So every day new people are going to be born that are going to go on to learn about astrology and perpetuate those energetic beliefs, and it keeps its existence and cycle. Okay, in my opinion, it's like the oldest belief in the world. Okay, before we even had the notion of a talking bearded god and prophets, people, before Netflix and chill, people would light a fire at the nighttime and sit at the feet of their elders as they watched the constellations move through the sky, and they would tell stories. There's like, pieces of bone found all over the world, so old, of etchings of little, stars and crescent moons. Our fascination with existence has always been there. It's like the longest love story ever told. Us and all that is around us. It's a beautiful thing. And so we perpetuate its existence, and that's fine. To what degree you perpetuate it is entirely up to you. That's entirely up to you. What you do with that is entirely up to you. So what should you do? If learning about astrology makes you feel bad, don't do it. Really don't do it. Can you defy a birth chart 1,000,000%? Yes, I have nothing to prove to you. I'm not being paid to say anything. I do all of this for free. You have access to me. I'm happy to be of service to you. I have no reason to tell you that you can or can't. I'm telling you the truth. I've defied my own chart. I've defied transits. Now, in what case is it helpful? Let's be practical, because if you can't make something usable to you, it has zero value as far as I'm concerned. Astrology, to have value, must be workable. This is my personal ethos. Everyone else can do what they want. That means if you're like, oh, the law exists, but there's no punitive measure. So if someone kills someone and the jury finds them guilty, the judge is like, well, you're guilty. Have a good lunch. And the killer's free to walk out. Like, no, it has to be workable. They have to go to prison. There has to be some kind of measure, quantifiable measure of punishment. Same thing with transits. So say you want to buy a house. Well, if a transit opens up, you can buy a house on either side of that transit. It's just more probable during that transit. If you're unconscious, if you have no notion of how the world works, no notion of energy, no notion of astrology, you could by default, there's a 60 to 80% chance by default that you would buy a house in that transit window. But you're not like enslaved to that transit. That's why I always dispel rumors of like Mercury retrograde being terrifying or something like that, because it's like, do you really want to live in the world where you're afraid of something you can't even like question or touch? That's crazy to me. So that's what I would use transits for. If you have a transit that's looking good for work, Maybe I would try to apply for a promotion, change career, fine. But I wouldn't limit myself and say I can only do it when this happens in 2027. Like, no, you can start now. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to see results until that transit occurs either. So, a very famous example is Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard, whom I adore so much, so grateful for him and all his work, was an astrologer. He taught. He had students. And when he met his teacher, the mystic Abdullah, he did away with everything. No tea leaves, no astrology, nothing. He said you can create everything from your mind. He never looked at another chart again. If one of his students needed help, he would come and help them with his techniques, but he would say there's no reason, there's no need to look at a chart. You have the power. And that's the thing I started saying in the beginning. Your chart will show you in what ways you're powerful. So if you just use those, you'll be fine. And even then, you don't need anybody. This is what I'm trying to stress. You don't need anybody to tell you that you can or can't do something. You know that you can. So go forth and make your life whatever you want it to be. Now, in terms of that start and stop energy, that's very true. Because I had that episode as well in my life where I thought, but I know I can do anything, and I've defied my chart 1,000,000,000 times. And I intend to defy 1,000,000,000 more. But then you really want something. So you really, really want it, you get all wound up, and then you open your chart and you look at transits and it kind of deflates you. It turns off your magic. So don't do that to yourself. Just think, okay, if you have a transit for marriage coming up and you don't want to wait 2 years, just say, well, I could be married in 6 months and really enjoy my marriage 2 years from now. Like, it's always going to be good, but it's going to like blow me away for those 2 years. It's going to be awesome, you know? So just look for ways to work with yourself rather than against yourself. I have more to say on astrology and law of attraction, of course. You know, you attract that into your experience. You attract how you perceive it into your experience. But this is a place for empowerment. So this is the main reason why I feel when doing readings, when people are really anxious and really insecure, even if they don't ask me anything, even if they just give me birth details, I feel tense. My solar plexus seizes up and I can't even speak what I see because that person's not ready to hear it. They will think it's crazy, or they will think I want to know the stuff. When am I getting promoted? When is the money? Where's the husband? Where's the wife? Who cares? It's like, you can't get there from there. You can't get to a place of feeling grandeur from feeling really tiny and small. You have to take these incremental steps, and they don't want to hear the incremental stuff. They want the facts. They want you to give them their power. That's not how it works. So I'll leave that there. There's a lot more to be said. I would say if it makes you feel powerless, don't ever look at another chart again. When you're strong in your energy, by all means. If it's curiosity for you, if it's fun for you, by all means. But if you invest in it, like it somehow holds the clues to your future to an extent, it shows potential. It's a blueprint for potential. What you do with that is up to you. Like, say you want to manifest a house. Doesn't matter the transit, doesn't matter the manifestation technique, the day of the week, irrelevant. If you don't go and pick up the keys from the realtor and open the door, you will never live in that house. So you have to take some kind of action that's inspired from a place of wisdom and knowing and peacefulness and alignment or certainty, expectation, determination. So if it makes you feel rotten, don't do it anymore. Just stick to law of attraction. And this is the one thing I find too in my experience is it's, for people, it seems like it's too easy, like it's too good to be true. And they're like, no, I need my cards, I need my this, I need my that. Listen, I like crystals because I think they're fun. I like rocks, I like nature. I enjoy them, I charge them, I party with them, that's cool. But they don't determine anything for me, to me. We have like a symbiosis. Same thing with charts. So have fun with it if you can have fun with it. If you can't have fun with it, put it to rest and just stick to using the power of your imagination because it's completely unlimited. So I hope that this has given you some comfort, soothing. You can do anything. You can be anyone. You can experience whatever you want, and that includes limitation. Like Abraham says, you're so free, you choose bondage. You're so free, you can choose bondage. Isn't that interesting? That you learn about having anything in the world, and then simultaneously your mind goes to why you can't have it. It's so funny to me. I do it still. I think it's hilarious. And every day I realize something I used to think that was so silly, you know, and then I remember, I'm like, oh my God, my chart said that this would never happen. And here I am, you know, it's interesting. So I hope this has been comforting. I hope you understand nothing is set in stone, ever, ever. Ever. Because if you change your perception, you vibrate out of the possibility of something. Like if you go to a psychic and they say you're going to buy a blue car, and a month later you watch Legally Blonde and you suddenly have a love affair with the color pink, you vibrate out of the desire for a blue car and you manifest a pink car, but you still manifest a car. So I could talk about this like forever, but my battery said, I will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for writing this wonderful, insightful question, and I will see you next time. Much love to you.